About Vojvodina, how do you think the Vojvodina can contribute to the process of getting together with Europe?
Vojvodina, like all of the regions of Serbia, has a lot to offer. That is, America is a diverse country, and perhaps if I can use that as an example, we look to my home state, California, we look to Florida, we look to New York, all to offer something different kinds of energy and different kinds of focus to the success of all of us in the United States. Vojvodina is an impressive agricultural power. It's got an interesting cultural diversity. It's got economic power and long traditions that are terrific, just like other parts of the country have that same kind of energy as well. So I see Vojvodina playing a very strong role in the future of Serbia and its aspiration to move towards Europe. And I think that Vojvodina's relationship to the other parts of the country can only get better and more positive in helping everyone move along towards that common goal.
The Vojvodina diversity look like a kind of American one.
I often like to say to my friends in Novi Sad that Novi Sad is like my hometown Los Angeles, a place where people who are different live together, and most of all that people who are different from one another appreciate those differences, and their lives are more rich from those differences. I hope that's the same all the way through Vojvodina.
How do you see the future of Serbia in European Union? Last time, in the summer, you told me that, did I ever ask myself, why should Europe take us in? And now you're about 1.5 years here as an ambassador. Maybe you might help me with that answer. What would you change in your attitude if you were one of us?
I think the key thing that Serbia can do to help it along the road that I know most Serbs agree is the future is to continue the reforms that make this country in its structures more European. Let me give you an example. You have a parliament that, in my mind, is sometimes very distinct from the people. That is to say, one of the benefits of a parliament can be that the people who are in the parliament have close and personal contact with the concerns of the people who are their constituents. I think that in your country you have a lot of very progressive politicians, very good forward-looking politicians who want to work towards bringing constituents towards parliamentarians. If you make this reform, I think you can only benefit. Let me take another example. There are many economic decisions that need to be made in your country to help prosperity. There are times when the people who are most affected by those decisions need to be the people who make those kinds of decisions. So that kind of support that we give in our embassy for municipal governments in the economic field, we hope what that does is makes it possible that people who live in a town, whether it's in Vojvodina or Šumadija or anywhere, have a certain amount of control, have a certain amount of input on their economic future because they're working on it locally. So these examples that I'm giving about reform are not just theoretical questions about a regulation that some ministry passes, but I hope they're examples of how real life will change in this country and prepare this country in that way for a European future. So that's where I'm optimistic for you. I think your people understand the way, the road ahead. Your people understand that it's going to take reforms to move towards Europe. And you're doing that. I think your country is doing that. I'm optimistic that there's not a question in my mind whether you're going to be members of the European Union. The only question is whether the reform process continues in such a way to make it sooner rather than later.
Sometimes I have a feeling that it's too slow and that we built a system that it's eating its own tail.
A message that I like to give to my Serbian friends is that they need to have a certain amount of faith that it can work. The reason that I encourage you to do so is that as a diplomat, I've worked in many countries who have entered the European Union, countries in Central and Eastern Europe, and many of them started from an economic and civic position that was weaker than Serbia's. And they did it. And it was not easy for them, but they did it. They did it not by grand ideas. They did it by patient, incremental steps. and work with the people in the government to reform. If you stick with it and you're patient, it's not just a question that I say it happened. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen in other countries, and I hope to see it here.
I'm very happy that you're so optimistic about it. Mm-hmm. We have also to convince Serbs into that.
Right, but Serbs are too talented to fail in this. Serbs will make it. I think the key thing for Serbs of all kinds is to be patient and not to quit. And if you see a European future, keep going toward it. Don't stop.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.